Are you willing to put yourself out there is what I ask a lot of my attorney clients. Are you willing to put yourself out there as a person? There's no more hiding behind your brand. If you really want to build that connection with people, you got to be able to open up a little bit, you know? And I put myself as an example. My social media has been a huge success in my mind as far as monetization. And if you look at my social media is, yeah, I'm a B2B, brand, but I put myself out there, right? I'm not posting about my problems or anything like that. Like, we don't have to go there, right?
Right.
But I let people know I'm a mission-based business owner. I let people know, why did I become a CMO? What is a CMO? I give people valuable content and I share my journey as a mom. I'm a mother of 5 boys. That's part of my brand, right? And but I connect it to my business, right?
Right.
We all know that if you want something to get done, ask someone who's busy, and who's busier than a mother of 5 and a CEO,
There's
right?
nobody busier than a parent. I'll give you that. Welcome to Above the Legal Limit. I'm your host, Justin Chopin, business owner, lawyer, dad, world's best husband, traveler, and adventure seeker. On this podcast, we mix business with pleasure. We'll dive into growth strategies, entrepreneurial adventures, the business of law, and prove that business isn't boring. So let's get ready because we are going above the legal limit. Good morning, Margarita. Thank you for coming to my podcast, Litigation Life. How are you?
I'm great, Justin. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you. So this is the first podcast. You are on the inaugural episode.
Woo!
And I think it's appropriate that you are our inaugural guest because you are a CMO or a fractional
Yes.
CMO. And so you and I live in the same world. When I heard the term CMO, I ran through the list. I was like operations, finance. I was like, what the hell's a CMO? And then it dawned on me, okay, marketing. So how does that work? Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So if you own a law firm and you don't have a CMO, chances are you're the CMO.
I am the CMO.
Chief Marketing Officer. Chief Marketing Officer is actually a traditional role that is given to somebody that's a multimedia expert. And the primary function of a CMO in any business, and this includes, large corporations and law firms, is you're responsible for making sure that the marketing works and that it makes money. And you're responsible for integrating whatever needs to be a part of the media mix. So it's not a tactical role like, say, an agency, right? Like, you might hire an agency and they know how to do video, social media, and website maintenance. So that agency might have like a marketing director that they assign to your law firm to help you with those services, grow your law firm. Well, it's limited to what they can sell you, right? The services they can sell you. A CMO doesn't have that problem. And it's one of my favorite things about my role is that if we need to create holographic animations for your law firm as part of your media mix, because that's the best opportunity for you, we will go find the best people to do that and make sure they do it well and that it makes you money.
That sounds amazing. You're right. I am. So I'm the firm's CMO. I'm the COO and the CEO and the CMO.
Yeah.
I'm not the CFO much. We have a bookkeeper, which is not quite the same thing. If you don't go to business school, you learn these things the really hard way, right? So I learned that I'm a really bad bookkeeper because my CPA said, "Hey, Justin, did you know that actually you're a really bad bookkeeper?" And that you should hire someone to do this for you. But the marketing, I do still, I still do. That's where I live. That's what I do, every day. And you're right. The agencies, they provide a limited service, and they will say that they can do things, but then you always have to be, dubious that,
Right.
They're really a digital agency, So, but
Exactly.
they don't want. But they'll do anything. They'll say, "Oh no, we can do that too. We can brand you, sure, or we can do this." But there's always an upsell component to it,
Yep.
and So in your market, do you exclusively work with law firms, or does that make up a large portion of your practice?
So I love, 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 and I can't overstated, love working with attorneys because it's a space that I understand and I
Hmm.
advertise to attorneys, and I have a lot of experience, over 10 years experience working with attorneys in the marketing space. However, I love helping business owners. So I do from time to time take on non-law firm clients, and I still do a really good job because honestly, it's all the same. Like, business owners have the same patterns in the mistakes that they make and that I can help them fix. So, for example, most business owners, whether you're a law firm owner or not, you're smart, right? And you're like, I know what I need. Social media is where it's at. I'm going to do social
Right.
media, find somebody to do it for me. Oh, I need a website. I'm going to find someone to build me a website. Oh, I heard about this SEO thing. I'm going to invest in SEO now. And you start throwing money at things, right? And it's deceitfully simple because you're so smart. But what happens is these marketing vendors, and they're not bad people, right? And it's not
No,
ever with ill
no.
intention. They're specialists and they make their money off of the services and the tasks that they perform, right? And they
Right.
invest in their own business in labor and tasks, right? And so if you don't know any better, the two of you are doing this dance where they're charging you for services and you're paying for services, but no one's really keeping an eye on the bigger picture because you, as a business owner, understand marketing really well, but you're also limited in your capacity to really put all the pieces of the puzzle together in your mind the way that somebody like myself, who's trained in data analytics by corporations like Nielsen, right? I can help you understand that, hey, you know that TV campaign that you ran? I can show you with data from Google My Business how well that worked. Whereas the
Right.
average person can put a tracking number on a TV commercial and say, I got 10 calls from the TV commercial according to the tracking number. I, as a marketing expert and data analyst, understand that attribution is not that black and white, right? And I can help make sense of those things. And again, I can do that for any business, but I just love doing it for attorneys. I have such a big heart for attorneys because I feel like, and I've seen that attorneys get solicited like every other day by every vendor under the sun
Oh, it's
because you all
unreal.
have the profit margins to invest in really good marketing, and you're so smart that, and they know how to play to your know-how, right? To tell you exactly what they need to tell you to get you to invest in these things. And I've seen it so much, and I'm honestly driven by actual individuals that I've helped over the last 10 years to make sure that I can work with as many law firm owners as possible so that all those things that I saw them go through, right? Like, they paid $25,000 for a website and stopped working with the vendor, and now they can't get into the website because no one ever told them to have the conversation of who really owns this website.
Oh, yeah. And
Nobody
there's,
ever
yeah.
sat with them and told them, hey, here's how you buy your domain so that you can own it and it's under your name and you can never get locked out. Like, all those little things that I've seen and experienced with actual individuals, right? That, like, I could name, like, I know them. It created these experiences for me where I'm like, I want to put these experiences that you had to benefit other people so that they don't have to go through this. And that's really where my desire and fascination with working with attorneys really comes from. It's because I've been inspired by actual attorneys who I respect and who I really believe want to help people, right?
Right.
Because there are
Well,
attorneys
that's,
that'll tell you, I'm just about the money, right? I'm sure you're not one of those people, but there are other attorneys that are like, yeah, I want to make money, but you know, this one case changed my life, you know? I had this experience and this is why I decided to focus on personal injury. Those
right.
are the attorneys that I love to work with.
Well, practicing law can be extremely rewarding. I've said this before. It was never designed. The practice was never designed to be um, a glamour, you know, Kardashian style,
Yeah.
life. That's not it. It was a profession. Lawyers and doctors up until late 20th century were not the wealthiest jobs to have. Um,
Mm.
Frankly, lawyers were not particularly well paid, right? It was a profession, it was a calling, and so it's changed, right? And so there are profit margins. I can't tell you how many emails I get in a day from various nefarious vendors.
Right.
I don't even, it's like a
Yes.
Tinder, is that it? I just swipe. I just swipe. Sometimes it's easier. I'll just use my phone for email, and so you can just start swiping away emails, and then I'll sit at my computer and actually focus on what I have. But you bring up an interesting point. I've learned a lot of these lessons, like I said, the hard way, and owning your own website, right? If it's not on WordPress, if it's on a proprietary software. So there's a very well-known, a very wealthy, well-known, well-oiled digital marketing agency machine, and they sell exclusively to lawyers, and that's their deal, right? It's their proprietary software. So you invest hundreds of thousands of dollars a year with this company, and in the end, when they really can't deliver the results for one reason or another, or there's just too many limitations on what they can deliver, when you decide you want to go another way, and you start looking into it, and you realize we got to start from scratch. We don't own this.
Yes.
I own the domain, right? I own
Right. You can point it
ChopinLawFirm.com. I
somewhere else.
own Chopin.com, right? But we had to start from scratch, and that's what we did when we moved to a new digital agency. That's when I learned, and so we had that conversation. You're right. And I was like, okay, well, so we're going to be clear. I own this, right?
Right.
Yes. Okay. All right. So, if I need to get rid of you guys for not performing, then I don't want to have to start over and pay another web vendor $25,000, right? Because that is a pretty standard price for a website. So that you bring up some interesting points. One of the things I've noticed in my marketing is, and over the years, is a lack of continuity through the various marketing channels, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a problem that I noticed pretty early on, and it is something that I have raised countless times. Certainly with our web vendor, to say, hey, look, which by the way, I'm very happy with our web vendor, but
Yeah.
we have this outdoor campaign, right? So we have these buses, and then
Mm-hmm.
we have our digital campaign, but the message is not always cohesive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's because there's not one person overseeing it all. I mean, there
Exactly.
is, it's me, but there isn't. I'm not going to sit there and
You
tell
don't
my
have time to
digital
be the
agent.
brand police.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm not particularly good at branding either.
Right.
I mean, sometimes we're just making these things up. I don't know what's going to
Yeah.
look good or read well. And we had a billboard at one time, and we were working with a really great friend who does PR, and she says, that's actually grammatically incorrect, right? Your billboard.
Oh my God.
It's like, I guess I do. Now that you say it, do we care? Well, maybe we care. So it is challenging. I would imagine that's where the CMO, role really comes in to kind of have there be some cohesion.
Yes, and one simple tip I can give you, even if you don't have a CMO, this will still help you. I mean, obviously having a CMO is ideal, right? But if you don't, at minimum, you want to have what's called a brand guide. A brand guide is a document, and you can think of it like a legal document for your brand, and it'll have guidelines on your logo use, but it can also have things like what is the main story that you're trying to express with all of your marketing. And a marketing agency, marketing vendor can be provided with this brand guide, and they now have clarity on, or they have something where they can use it as kind of a test, right? If I come up with this campaign, around horses, and your brand guide says that you are a serious brand law firm and you want campaigns that are more serious, then, oh, that doesn't fly. That doesn't match what the brand guide is saying we're to do here. You can
Right.
also include do's and don'ts as far as messaging. So I've got, crimmigration lawyers that, they don't like to use the word illegal, right,
Right.
in their
Yeah, sure.
language because they find it offensive and they feel like it should be, instead expressed differently. And so they have in their brand guide, instead of the word illegal, use this phrase or explain this status, right? And so those things can be put into a brand guide and provided to all of your vendors. I don't care if they're wrapping a bus for you or whatever, they can use this brand guide for things like color, but also messaging and all these do's and don'ts. And then you'll start to see more of that cohesive brand that you want. And if you have a CMO, the CMO can be your brand police, right? The CMO can say to the vendor, hey, you guys missed this. I was having a conversation yesterday where I was explaining to a vendor on behalf of my client how their graphic design was violating the brand guide. And I was explaining to them because they weren't seeing it themselves, right? Sometimes they're not going to see it even if you give them a brand guide. And I was saying, hey, there is a rule in the brand guide. I don't know if you noticed it, but we have to leave a certain amount of space around my client's logo. You violated that rule with this design. Can you please go back and make these changes, right? So
Right.
that's an example of how, yeah, it's nice to have the brand guide. It's a step in the right direction, but you do want to have somebody enforcing it, because
Yeah, you
vendors are
do.
going to not read the email. They're not going to look, they're not going to follow the rule, or they're going to miss an important detail, even if you give it to them in writing. But if you at least have it in writing, it helps.
And that's a good point. I've never thought of that. We have to sort of police our brand a little bit.
Yes, a
Yesterday,
lot.
right? I mean, yesterday I had a conversation. I think, well, day before yesterday, I had a conversation with a vendor, and they said, "Hey, this is going to be great, Justin. We're going to call it the Chopin difference." And I said, "Gosh, that just sounds so familiar. What? Why is that?" And I was like, "Wait, you mean like the Dudley DeBosier difference?" And they said, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, that's nice, but that's kind of their marketing.
Right.
I don't really want to use their marketing. They're a great firm. I like those guys over there, but we're our own firm. Also, they'll sue me,
Let's come
right?
up with our own idea. Yeah.
Right. The big box, I call them big box, plaintiffs firms. They understand the need to protect their trade, their
Mm-hmm.
branding, and not out of malice, but they will absolutely sue you to protect the brand because you have to, right? So
Right.
if your brand is out there and you're not protecting it, then you could be waiving certain arguments, and so we'll see these lawsuits come up. So I was like, well, I'm not getting sued because you couldn't come up with a better idea. Get a
Mm-hmm.
thesaurus,
Yeah.
find a better word, the Chopin difference. So that's a good point, and it takes constant vigilance.
Yep.
So if you've been doing this for more than 10 years, I would love to hear your take on the changes in the legal marketing, sphere,
So
because
I've
I'll
so
tell
I've
you,
been yeah, so I've been doing marketing for over 25 years,
okay,
working specifically with attorneys for about 10 years. And the biggest shift, and this is just in general, is the social media, the internet, right? Over the last
right,
25 years has revolutionized where the eyeballs go and where people and how people connect to brands in general. So, in the beginning, 25 plus years ago, it was TV and radio. If you were on TV and radio and on some billboards, you're good. It's like shooting
right,
fish in a barrel. Then cable came, and then viewership got fragmented. I was at Nielsen when that shift was happening, and everybody was losing their minds, right? They're like, "What do
right,
you mean my ratings are down by 35%?" And I'm like, "Yeah, look, they're over here."
right.
And I could show them with data the channel surfing, right? During the commercial break, they're going
No,
over
they're
here
not
to this
watching
cable
commercials.
station. And I
Right,
can show them with data, and they're like, "Oh, like how do we fix this?" And I'm like, "You can't. The people are now empowered with these remotes and with all of these options." And then the internet came and social media came, and it ruined everything. Now you can't buy your way into people's hearts, into people's minds. You've got to earn it, and you've got to earn it with messaging. If
yeah,
you have saturated the market with billboards, buses, TV commercials, social media content, but you're not touching people's hearts with your messaging, you're wasting your money. We
right,
have to be thoughtful and intentional and really understand our customer now, because they're not settling for less. They'll skip right past your video on Facebook, right? They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, they're, TikTok. They'll skip right past your beautifully produced, whatever, because it means nothing to them. And
right,
authenticity is king. That really is the key. If you are authentic, if you are telling stories, you now are part of the conversation, right? Marketing is a conversation. It's an ongoing conversation. It used to be a one-way conversation, what I described in the beginning, right? Now it's a two-way conversation.
Yeah.
Are you willing to put yourself out there, is what I ask a lot of my attorney clients. Are you willing to put yourself out there as a person? There's no more hiding behind your brand. If you really want to build that connection with people, you got to be able to open up a little bit, you know? And I put myself as an example. My social media has been a huge success in my mind as far as monetization. And if you look at my social media, is yeah, I'm a B2B, you know, brand, but I put myself out there, right? I'm not posting about my problems or anything like that. Like, we don't have to go there, right?
Right.
But I let people know I'm a mission-based business owner. I let people know, why did I become a CMO? What is a CMO? I give people valuable content, and I share my journey as a mom. I'm a mother of 5 boys. That's
Oh,
part of my
wow.
brand, right? And but I connect it to my business, right?
Right.
We all know that if you want something to get done, ask someone who's busy, and who's busier than a mother of 5 and a CEO,
There's
right?
nobody busier
Right?
than a parent. I'll give you
And
that.
I joke with people, like, when they're like, "Oh, how can you even focus, you know, and do a good job?" Like, I've had those people, right? How can you even do a good job if you're such a busy, you know, mom of 5? And I'm like, because there's no one more efficient than me,
Because
right?
exactly, efficiency. You know, it used to be, it was very taboo, bordering inappropriate, illegal to ask new hires, you know, interviewees questions like, do you have children? Right? Because the thought was, well, I don't want to hire this individual because they have children. The pendulum has completely swung in this regard for me,
Mm-hmm.
and my law firm. I have 2 children. I have a boy and a girl. They are 6 and 7, and I
Mm.
was up at 5:45 this morning because
Yeah.
I had to get them up, I had to get them dressed, I had to get them breakfast, I had to get their backpacks packed, I got to get them to school. Um, you become a well-oiled machine on
That's
efficiency.
right.
I don't have time. I don't. Someone said the other day, "Hey, Justin, what's your favorite TV show?" And I said, "What? TV show? Well, I don't. Man, I'm asleep by the time the TV's on." And he's like, well, "What book are you reading?" I was like, "Book? I'm not reading books. I've got children. What do you, I
Audiobooks.
can right. I can recite to you Goodnight Moon. I don't even, I don't actually need the book to read Goodnight Moon because I've read it so many times. I can just say it off the top of my head." I was like, "But otherwise, and they're like, "Well, what movie, what great movie have you seen lately?" And I said, "Well, my daughter was born in 2016, and I don't think I've seen a movie since then." And so I went home and I told my wife, I said, "Honey, I might be uninteresting.
Right.
There's not a single thing I can say about myself." And she goes, "You're a business owner and a father. You don't have time for that bullshit." I was like,
Oh
"Yeah,
my God.
but you
Well,
know
can
what?
I give you
Thank you."
can I give you a life hack? So my youngest is 3, and the way that I fit in my reading is I will read my self-help, my business books to him in like a Disney voice,
There
and
you
he's
go.
like, and that's how I get
That's
my
good.
reading in. I'm like, "Hey, mommy's gonna read you a story," and like literally, it's a book that I want to read.
I love that. I
And I'll
actually,
read it
you
in
know
a
what? I am
Disney
going to
voice
do
with
that.
suspense and everything, and he'll fall asleep. I'm like,
Yeah, they'll love it.
great.
They love that. They just,
Yeah.
they want that time. They want that connection, and they don't care if it's
Yes,
reading. You're right.
that's it. Yes, I'm a
I
big,
love it.
big promoter of incorporate your kids into your work. And I don't know if you know this, but it's actually a great way to save money on your taxes. I went to a workshop yesterday, and my CPA actually spoke, and he's works with attorneys too, and he was telling all the law firm owners that you can actually pay your
You can
children
pay
through
your
your
kids.
business as W
That's
two
right.
employees, and that's less taxes that you have to pay.
So
So
less taxes. Now you'll pick it up on the kids, but if you pay them a low, under the threshold, in theory, they
yes,
won't
yes.
earn
And
it.
they have to do actual work, of course. Like, my
Right.
youngest is on my social media, so I pay him a little bit for his image and likeness, and then the other ones do other little odd jobs. So
I know
yeah.
I should do
And it's
that. We
fun
need
for
to.
them.
We need to get. I need. I'm going to call my wife today. I was like, we need to get more kids because I need some more hands around here.
Yeah.
We're gonna go old school, like farm style, right? So, well,
Yeah.
hey, Margarita, thank you so much for coming on my show. I really appreciate it. Why don't you take a minute and tell my viewers, where they can find you.
That's awesome. So social media definitely is the funnest place to find me, because you'll really get to know what I'm about there. Margarita Eberline or Marketing Boss. I have both those handles.
Marketing
And
boss.
then,
Okay.
yeah, and then I've got my website, of course, which is my online brochure, right? If you want to read about what I do, how I do it, I got tons of blogs. I also have my own app. You can find it at Marketing Boss inside your phone, whether you
Okay.
have an Android or an Apple. You'll find it in your app store, and it's free to download it. Lots of free resources. So I'm really promoting that right now. But my website is marketing-boss.com, and you can also find it by my name, margaritaeberline.com. It'll take you to the same place.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for joining me today on Above the Legal Limit. If you enjoyed the show and you want to hear more about business and law, hit that subscribe button. If you didn't like the show, keep it to yourself. Remember, there's no limit to what we can achieve. We will see you next week. Until then, even though we're above the legal limit, let's drive safely. Cheers, everyone.